Hi everyone, how you going? I just thought I would stop in and do a couple of updates. What's going on around the place. So I'll just give it a couple of minutes and see how many people come on. And get past me notification from Facebook to tell me I'm doing a live. And we'll see how we go. So, as you can see on the page today, Tempest couldn't pay her rent again this fortnight. Seems to be becoming a normal thing for this young lady in WA. See, the thing is, Indu already made her homeless because they refused to let her pay rent to her father. And the owner of that property refused to have her on the lease because she was on the Indu card and he didn't want to be stuffed around by Indu. So she's now moved to her mum's, and oddly enough, they said, oh, yes, you can pay your rent to your mum. But so far, no luck. You know, and here we are again. You know, her rent was declined again this morning. It's getting beyond a joke. And it's like they're determined to make parents homeless. You know, Tempest has 2 children and a third one on the way and needs permanent housing. And you know, some people have said, oh, you can get centre pay. You can't get centre pay when you're having to pay a family member your share of the rent when you can't get on the lease because the owners don't want person on the Indu card on the lease. It sort of boxes everything up. It deliberately puts people out on the street and it's getting beyond ridiculous. So I rang Community Legal Services in our region up here today in Hervey Bay. They're going to get back to me on Wednesday. They can't actually represent people, but they can give people some advice. But she had to wait until Wednesday to get back to me, so we'll see how that pans out. Because I recommend for people that are on the card, right, don't stop putting in formal complaints when you're forced to breach your rental contract, because that's what they're forcing you to do, whether it's a verbal contract or whether it's a lease agreement, when they reduce your rents to 0 without telling you, when they stuff up your rent, when they stuff up your bills. Put those complaints in all the time. Don't stop. Don't be shy, right? Complain to the Ombudsman, Australian Financial Complaints Authority, ASIC, ACCC, all the senators, MPs. Don't stop. Document everything, right? Make complaints. You know, tell us your stories too, of course, so that we can get it out into the public. Because every now and then, the media come knocking. I had a phone call last week that ABC 7:30 report want to do a follow-up story, right? So that'll come out in the next couple of weeks to be organised for them to organise their shooting schedule and stuff like that, to talk to people on the card. So there's always little things going on behind the scenes, and we want to try and update you as much as possible. You know, I think the comment that I stole from Tempest today from the Hinkler page was she was doing really good without Indu, had everything paid on time, had things set up so they could get paid and not have to worry about it declining. Indu ruined everything. And there's a lot of people that feel like that as well. And they have good reason to feel like it because their credit rating's destroyed. They've been left homeless. They've been forced to move, right? One lady made a comment that she had to give up a really nice home that was only $240 a week because it was a cash rental and she couldn't pay her rent. So she was forced to give it up and move to a unit, which is $300 a week, to appease Indu's rules, you know what I mean? Making people worse off at every turn, which is ridiculous. So, somebody made a comment on the post that, you know, workers are next, don't think it can't happen. There's a lot of workers on the card, part-time casual workers, especially in the hospitality industry, that are on the card. But I came across a comment from Rachel. Yep, my stepson in Ceduna is a full-time apprentice and has a partial payment from Centrelink because apprenticeships don't pay. They pay less than Centrelink payments, right? So he's on the Indu card and he's got a full-time apprenticeship. People need to realise this is not just about job seekers, it's about everybody. And we need to do our best to stop it, protest it in whatever way we can. So next week, the Invasion Day protests in Brisbane, I spoke to the organisers today, and we were able to have a stall at their Musgrave Park, which is where they'll be having barbecue and everything at the end of their rally. Due to my own personal health issues, I can't actually physically take part in the rally. I would love to. It starts at Queen's Park in Brisbane, and it goes all the way to Musgrave Park. But I can't physically walk that far. So, but other people that I've been speaking to are happy to carry our banner, right, or banners. It depends how many volunteers we get on the day, and we'll be working that out the next week or so. I am putting my hand out for any help people can chuck into the account, because I'll be going down on the Monday, and the event's on the Tuesday, and I'll be meeting people on the Monday afternoon, organising the setup of our stall, so I get to mow the stall, because that's all I can do is sit and talk. Unfortunately, my physical health, I can't do a rally unless somebody in Brisbane has a scooter like a Gopher that they can lend me on the day, and then I'll be in it bells and whistles. I'll have the flag attached to it and everything. I'll go, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, even with my walker, I couldn't walk that distance. So I've already been talking to other people who will carry our banners for us. I'm going to need to get a hell of a lot of our flyers printed up, which I will start doing at the end of this week. So any help you can help with, chuck me a message in the message box. Because, yeah, I can't do it all in my pension myself. So, yeah, what else can I say? We're going to do the best we can to get as much information as we can. In Brisbane on Tuesday, there'll be a lot of people to talk to, and I get to meet a whole different crowd of people as well and connect with people, which is good. We'll keep posting people's stories that are on the card. Please keep sending them if you're on the card, and please keep contacting your community legal services, even if you get the runaround a bit. All right, start pushing, start ringing lawyers, and start asking for help, and start saying, look, come on, this is not right. You know what I mean? Because people need to be able to get some representation somewhere. We need to keep pushing this until they do. At the end of the day, this is going to end. It's going to somehow, some way, we have to keep pushing. We can't let this spread like the cancer that it's doing. Our economy cannot afford this. Our people can't afford it. Mental health of the people, general, just society as a whole. A lot of pro-card people might think, oh, well, it's our money, blah, blah, blah. It's not. The thing is that without an adequate social security payment and your rights intact, you have such a broken society. We can't. How can this country become prosperous and progress forward if everybody has given up? I don't want people to give up. I want people to stand up alongside us, stand up for your neighbours, stand up for your kids, and don't sit down. And you can stand up in lots of ways. We've shown you over the time. Don't let up on the senators and the MPs and the letter writing. Grab a shirt if you haven't got one. Take a selfie, send it to us, and then when there's events happening in your region, we will let you know, and you can go with your shirt on and stuff like that. Tuesday, if people are in Brisbane and they want to catch up with me at Musgrave Park, that'd be a good time to come and meet me, you know what I mean? And you can join in there too, and learn a lot about the First Nations peoples as well, and what's going on for them. With the utmost respect, The card is another piece of colonialism. It is another piece of oppression for those people and for us. So we need to unite in that sense and say, no, this is not on for either side. You know what I mean? It's racist, it's apartheid, it's financial apartheid, it's oppressive, and it strips people of their rights, and it's wrong. It doesn't matter. The card does not care for the colour of your skin, your sex, your religion, or whatever. It is non-discriminatory in that area. It just is a blanket over everybody. It touches the postcodes that it's in. And we have a system now where if you live in the wrong postcode, you're stripped of your rights. And that's wrong. And we need to fight to get those people's rights back. You know, get their consumer protections back, get their payments protections back from Social Security, and not give up and keep telling people the truths. Keep sharing what we've got on our pages, keep talking to people, because that's the only way we're going to do it, is one person at a time. And if it means doing like the Brisbane crew, which is Emily and Josephine, where they've gone out like every week and every fortnight for the last couple of months, train stations, the university, wherever, and handed out leaflets, just talking to people. If that's what it takes, and we've got to get people across the country to do that everywhere, that's what we can do. That's how we can be proactive. We can work out a regular time twice a month for people to join in with these activities and do it across the country. Do it whenever you feel like it. Drop me a message. I'll send you the PDF for the flyer, and you can print them up yourself and you can hand them out in your region. Put them up on notice boards, whatever. Get the word out there. We don't have to protest in great big rallies. We can't afford to do that. We don't have the volunteers to do that, or the manpower, or the dollars to do that. But we can do it by word of mouth, and we can do it, if we have to, one person at a time. And look, in the last 3 months, this page exploded. We got good media from Marcus Paul 2SM Sydney, and we picked up another 3,000 followers. We had humongous page reach. It was amazing. You know, and keep sharing all of our articles. Keep sharing the information. You know, Lorna says, can we hand them out in Sydney? Yeah, just send us an email to the page. You know, just message the page, Lorna, or me, and I can send you the PDF for the flyer, and then just go and get some printed out and hand them out. They're a double-sided, and it's a trifold, so you'll have to fold it up. But they're double-sided, so they've got all the information on it. We've tried so many different versions of leaflets so that it's not too wordy and not too crowded, and we finally got one that works. But, yeah, you can hand them out wherever you want, because the main thing is we need to wake the Australian public up as to the privatisation of Social Security, right? The sell-off of people's rights to private corporate businesses for profits. Social Security was never supposed to be sold off. That is a lazy government shirking its responsibility for the Australian people by handballing everything to the private sector and then walking away and not being a responsible government for anything. That's what privatisation is about. Give it to your mates make lots of money, but you leave the people with no representation, no protections, right? And the companies are not accountable because they're private. You know, so they can't get hauled before a Senate inquiry and be told, why didn't you do this, why didn't you do that? Because they're a private company. They're not required to be accountable to the public, to the Senate, to the government. They're there to make money. That's all they're there for. Same as the job agencies. They're not there to get people jobs. They're there to keep people on their books. That's been a $40 billion scam and more. It's been going on for years. It's been exposed, Four Corners exposed it, I think in 2012. Not much has changed except for the punitive ability for job agencies to cut people off, and Centrelink not being able to fix that. You know, so too much power in the hands of people that can't forgive the fact that a bus may have got in late, or you ran out of credit, or any, may have been in hospital or something, cut you off. You know what I mean? Or you missed a phone call, so they cut you off. It's wrong. We have a very broken punitive system, and we need to fix this. And we can't fix it overnight, but we need to support the parties that are supporting us. Definitely we need to make sure we vote the LNP and the One Nation type parties out of existence at the next federal election, because if we don't, we will end up like Britain. We are going to have we've got a housing crisis as it is. We've got poverty, and it's going to get worse, right? We need to stand together. Pensioners, disabled, carers, unemployed, youth, old, doesn't matter. We need to stand together on this, protect our social security sector and fight for it so that we don't lose it. We don't want situations where parents have no choices. We need a social safety net that is adequate, right? That is provides us healthcare and community supports, not a cashless debit card that belts everybody else over the head, and you're reliant on somebody on the other end of the phone who doesn't recognise what your health issue is, so says no, you can't order those compression stockings from the UK because we don't know what your disease is, like one lady was told in WA, and the result is she can't get her medical supplies from the UK, but she can't get treatment here for her disease either properly because she's not wealthy enough to be able to go in and have private surgeons do the surgery, and it's not covered by the public. But an Indus staff worker said, oh, we don't understand what that disease is. Sorry, no, you can't have those medical supplies anymore. It's disgusting, and people should not be in this situation. So that's all I've got for you at the moment. And if you want to go over to my personal page, if you don't know who I am, Catherine Wilkes, right, go check over. I did a video this afternoon. I was having a gripe. I do my personal gripes on my page. It's a 48-minute video. I was having a bit of a gripe about various different pages, different topics. One of the topics was a cashless debit card in another site, of course, and things like the general welfare bashing and things like that. I tend to explain more off topic there. Maddie Hope says DHS doesn't have complaints line for Indu, and Indu don't have a complaints department. No, they don't officially have a complaints department. So what happens in the situation when someone's trying to make a complaint is they ring Indu, and then Indu says, oh, you have to ring Services Australia, and then Services Australia say you have to ring Indu. So you do the ping pong, and then eventually you can ring Centrelink. You can get a complaint put through. You've got to fight for it. And then if you can get through to the AAT complaints and get your complaint accepted there, I know it can be done because we've heard of people that have done it in the past, and I've got one lady who's currently going through it, but she's had to play the ping pong and run around and not let up. She's just not let up. And that's my advice to everybody. Don't give up. When they say you can't do this or you can't do that, why not? Why not? Why not? So who can I go to? Don't stop. Don't give up, right? You're not given the same consumer protections as another person who would be a client of Indus in their normal world, you know what I mean? Outside of the welfare sector that they're in charge of, but their own client base because they're a big company, they would not treat their own customers like this. And they would be held accountable in respect under consumer law to make sure that they don't treat their customers like this. So therefore you need to be a little bit more confident, a little bit more aggressive, so to speak. Don't be rude, right? Document everything, date, time, so it's all in a row. That's one way to do things. and put it all in like a file, and then when you want to tap into it, if you want to send it to somebody as complaints, there's the timeline of everything that's happened to you since you got put on the card, what they did, what they said, what they did or didn't do, if they fixed a problem, if they didn't fix the problem, the works. Just don't let them off the hook. It's frustrating, it's hard, but don't stop. All right? Never give up. Just don't give up, people. Because when we give up, everyone loses. Not just you and your family, but if we all... No, I'm not giving up. Sorry. I'm not ready to give this up at all. Maddie says it's hard to be persistent and assertive when you have psychotic depression and anxiety. And that's, Maddie, that's where I would say you need to get your doctor's support as well. Okay? And you need to put in for a wellbeing exemption. But in order to do that, you're going to need to see a clinical psychiatrist, not just a psychologist. But depending on where you are, Maddie, you can go to a welfare rights group in your region. Look one up in whichever state and get them to advocate for you. So Aaron Griffiths says, what is the local member saying to this? Why hasn't he stepped in? Aaron Griffiths, for Hinkler region, for Bundaberg and Hervey Bay, the local member is Keith Pitt. He pushed for the card. It's his baby. He won't entertain helping a card holder. He just sends them on their merry way, ring the Indu hotline or go to Centrelink. That's all he does. He doesn't assist people who are trying to get off the card or help them with their problems. He never has. He won't have meetings with people, and he doesn't like being confronted in public. I've confronted him in public in Hervey Bay, and a number of card holders have confronted him in public up in Bundaberg several times, and then he pulls out the, it's government policy, it's nothing to do with me line. Okay, yet he was the one who pushed for it to come in. He formed his own little reference committee of his LNP mates to be the community voice that recommended this, right? So that's for our region, for Bundaberg and Hervey Bay and Aldershot, which is just the other side of Maryborough. So I'm sort of like, I'm in the middle now because I see a lot of people here in Maryborough on the card. But Maryborough's not on the card. It's just, this is their closest area to go shopping to. Other than that, they'd have to go to 60 kilometres to go to Hervey Bay to be able to use the card. So with Kalgoorlie, right, Rick Wilson was the LNP member, along with the local mayor down there, right, Bowler. They wanted the card. It's their baby. It was going to solve all their alcohol problems. Well, it hasn't worked. Massive social upheaval in Kalgoorlie, and big issues, and they're bringing in an alcohol banned register now, and everything like that. It just shows that the card hasn't worked. Kununurra originally was Melissa Price. That was when they got, and Ceduna was, his name's Ramsey, the LNP member, and the previous mayor, Alan Suter, all wanted the card, right? Not the people. The people didn't get the choice. There was no consultation with the people in all the areas. And what meetings did take place with the DSS at the time were not, do you want this, right? It was, this is how it will be, and you will learn to live a different way. All right? And I can remember going to the one in Hervey Bay, and the people were furious because they weren't being given an option. They were being told, you will learn to live a different way. So, Maddie asked for the pensioners on it in Hervey Bay. Okay, so Hervey Bay is for under 36 job seeker, parenting payment and youth allowance only at this time. No doubt I have seen things in certain submissions that they would like to bring it in line with Kalgoorlie, Ceduna and Kununurra, and they would like to be able to have the people on disability support pension, carers and everybody on it up to the age of 67, but they can't get that at the moment. So as for old age pensioners, after March, because of the way the new bill went through, Cape York will still see their old age pensioners go on the card. Right? And all areas have been made voluntary for old age pensioners to be able to ask to go on the card if they want. That's after March, in line with the new bill that doesn't get a start until March. So, yeah. So that's the way it is at the moment. So, if anything else pops up, I'll do another live. As I said, so I'll be in Brisbane on Tuesday next week. Okay, so Jacqueline says there's still issues with using the Basics card in the Northern Territory. I'll address that now. The Basics card, okay, so let me see. With the new legislation that went through, let's clarify this. The Basics card is compulsory income management, okay? But it's different. It is controlled by Centrelink. Your payments of protections under the Social Security Act are still protected under law. And so are your consumer protections and your privacy rights. Okay? With the cashless debit card, that's all gone because that's handed over to the card provider, and you're exempted from the Protections of Payments Act in the Social Security Act. So when they say people can volunteer for the cashless debit card in the Northern Territory after March, that's a trick, okay? So, and we don't want people to be tricked into it because it's still compulsory forced income management. But the difference is, if you decide to change from Basics card to the cashless debit card voluntarily, you are consenting to giving up all your rights. Okay, whereas the legal situation at the moment, which is really muddy, and we need this is why we need lawyers, okay, is under the Consumer Act, Indu was only given a letter of no action for the first trial, not for the whole lot. Which means that you've got all these people out there that they've had their consumer rights breached. That's a law. It's a law, right? And somebody might be able to help me out with the exact section. I think it's G12 or something. I'm not sure what it is. But that law says that a financial institution is not allowed to solicit or issue cards in your name and set up accounts without your consent. That is a really big no-no under Australian consumer law. And the situation you've got with the changeover for the Northern Territory is if anybody voluntarily changes over to the cashless debit card, right, then they're not covered by that breach in consumer law because they've consented to have that happen to them. We tried to warn people about the tap and go cards. We're not sure about the legalities on that as well, because when they said, oh, you can order a new card, you can get a new tap and go card for tap payments, I said to people, this is sus, because if you order one of those cards, you're consenting to being on it. So therefore, are you still covered by this breach in consumer law? This is where we need proper lawyers to look at this properly and start saying, hey, these people's consumer laws and their rights were not adhered to. I think one of the most abhorrent things is the transfer of information from Services Australia to Indu without the person's knowledge or consent, right? That is disgusting. And then to find out that not only that, they pass all the information, your bank account details and everything to Indu, including your mother's maiden name as well. See, I've sat in with people that have had financial problems with Indu, and I've watched when a guy asked a 25-year-old for her mother's bank statements and credit card statements, and I pulled him up. I said, hey, she doesn't have consent to give you those things, and you can't ask for them anyway. Her parents weren't even on Centrelink, for God's sakes. This is how far they go over the top. How many people do they trick into giving out that information that's not their information to have? So, with the cashless debit card differences with the Basics card, we've noticed that since this has been gone through, Basics card is having massive failures. Basics cards always had failures anyway. In the wet season, when the power's down, when the Telstra's out, the internet's out, right? And we've posted articles about that throughout the course of the last couple of years where Telstra's been down, they've had no internet. Last year they were talking about store owners were saying they can't afford to feed people on book up anymore because, and just recently they were doing food drops to basics card communities because they had no power. They had no ability to buy any food. But then when they do get their ability to buy food back, it's like, it's already inflated prices anyway, but it's gone up another 58%. It's ridiculous. So we are aware of basics card crashing a lot at the moment. But that's, the cashless debit card is still not going to work on communities where Telstra doesn't work. Telstra couldn't get into communities to get internet back on because the police wouldn't let them in because the place is flooded. All right? This isn't a new thing for people on the basics card, but it's, and we've tried to put it out there several times. This is why forced income management doesn't work, because people go, oh, but if there's a power outage, anybody with a card can't use it. But the difference is Telstra can bring in emergency generators, like they did for Ceduna when the power went down in Ceduna in 2016-17, and they had the big storms and that took out the power for 8 days. Telstra brought in the big generator into the community pub. They put it out everywhere that everybody could go to the pub and get cash out, except for the people on the cashless debit card. Right? The comment from Services Australia last year in the big bushfires was, if anybody's stuck in a fire zone and they can't do anything, ring us. I remember putting up a photo of a melted phone box. How the hell could people ring you? They don't have cash to ring at the phone box. There's no internet. And they're stuck. This is how stupid they are. Well, it was just insulting for the answer to come back from Services Australia on my Twitter account was, tell them to give us a call. Honestly. You're going to have the same service problems, the infrastructure problems. The problems that we need to be fixed are not having people on forced income management of any kind. We need housing. Affordable public housing, right? Start building it now. We did it after the war. England and Australia, everybody did it, and they became prosperous because it created so much work, so many jobs. The difference was we used to be able to have kids going through and have apprenticeships. People didn't need a ticket to clean a toilet. You didn't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to do a basic job, you know what I mean? They've put so many barriers in the way of people getting normal jobs and getting this country going. So we need housing. We need public services. We need, for those that do have issues, we need, and we can keep saying it till we're blue in the face. I mean, poor Seduna's been waiting for a rehab for over a decade. They still haven't got one. The cashless debit card's been there 5 years. They still haven't got one. All right. Putting the price of university up to keep poor kids out is not the answer. Okay? Putting so many barriers in front of people so they can't afford a permit to do this or that, they can't breathe, isn't the answer. The answer is doing productive programs for people, training, job training, people who want to start their own businesses. You know, the Netherlands put up before COVID and all that sort of thing. One of the things that Netherlands did, I think it was Netherlands, was they offered unemployed people the equivalent of like $10,000 to go and set up market stalls. Go and here's how you do it. They did a 2-day course on what they need, supplies like gazebo tables. They did 1-day course on how to do their tax, you know, so that everybody, and it was broken down so it was really simplistic, but so they knew how to do their tax and how to know how to buy and how to sell. And they said, right, there's 10 grand, go and buy this, go and do that, go to this market, right, work out what products you want to buy. And they got 10,000 people off of unemployment doing that. But they lifted people out of poverty and they lifted people up. That's the difference. We have a government that wants to put the boot down on people, take people's rights away and keep them in poverty, while every stakeholder and service provider out there is making a mint off their backs. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay? We have a government that's shirking its responsibility to the Australian people in not protecting our social security sector. Instead, they want to privatise it out and give it all away and not do anything. All right? And it shows that they don't want to take responsibility when we've just seen the Netherlands government stand down over their equivalent of robo-debt, go belly up for 27,000 citizens, and their whole government stood down because it's screwed up 27,000 citizens' lives. You know, look at how many people died here from robo-debt. So, anyway, I'm going to get off because otherwise I'm just going to keep raving and you don't want that. But yeah, I'll be down in Brisbane Monday afternoon and Tuesday down at Musgrave Park. So if you're in Brisbane, come and say hello. And yep, I'll just keep updating things as things come and stay strong. And I'm always available through message box anyway. Okay, see you guys. Bye.